All right, so you wanted to do a deep dive on the sisters, huh?
Yeah, well, it's a classic, isn't it?
Definitely, but not exactly your typical Halloween read. More like unsettling. I don't know about you, but it leaves me with this kind of like weird feeling.
I know what you mean. It's like, it gets under your skin.
Right. So we're in Dublin, turn of the century. We've got this young boy, never actually named.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's completely fascinated by this priest, Father Flynn.
Ah, yes, Father Flynn, the heart of the story, really.
But Father Flynn's not doing so well. He's had these strokes, and the whole thing's about, well, his decline, his death. And it's all seen through the eyes of this kid.
And that's what makes it so powerful, right? This whole child's perspective on illness and mortality, these huge themes.
Absolutely. The way he describes paralysis, like it's maleficent and sinful, like some evil force.
Like it's something to be afraid of, yeah.
Yeah, and yet he's also drawn to it, kind of wants to see it. I mean, remember that line about the boy dreaming of the priest's heavy gray face?
Haunting, right?
Totally. And there's this undercurrent of like, the priest wants to confess something to him, which adds this whole other level of creepy.
It's that sense of something unspoken, something hidden.
Right. Like, what's he hiding? What does he need to confess?
Ah. And then we have old Cotter. This family friend pops in with these cryptic warnings about Father Flynn.
Oh, yeah. Uncanny. And how the priest isn't good for children to be around. But why? He never says.
Well, that's Joyce, right, leaving us hanging. But that word, uncanny, back then it had a much stronger supernatural feel to it, something unsettling.
It's like he's hinting that there's something, well, otherworldly about Father Flynn.
Exactly, almost suggesting there's a whole other story
Yeah.
happening just beneath the surface.
So we're left wondering, what did Cotter know? Was there something, I don't know, maybe even scandalous about Father Flynn?
Right. It makes you question the whole situation. And this tension between what Cotter says and the boy's own memories, that's key.
Absolutely, because even with those warnings, the boy seems to genuinely like Father Flynn. Remember, the priest taught him Latin, all that stuff about Catholicism?
Yeah, and those religious questions the priest would ask, they weren't simple. Made him think about faith in this really complex way.
Which brings us to, well, that whole incident with the chalice. It's revealed that Father Flynn broke one, and, well, things seem to go downhill for him after that.
And that's not just any broken dish, you know?
Yeah.
This is a chalice, sacred, used in Mass.
It's a huge deal.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been just clumsy, it would have had symbolic weight. Maybe even seen as a bad omen.
Can you imagine being a priest in Dublin at that time and breaking a chalice?
The shame, the guilt, it must have been immense.
No wonder he was shaken.
Yeah.
And then he gets withdrawn, and there's that scene where he's found in the confessional alone, laughing.
Yeah, that image is so striking, isn't it? Him in the confessional, a place for, confession, penitence.
But he's laughing.
It's unsettling. And you have to remember, mental illness, it wasn't understood the same way back then. It was mysterious, frightening.
So we have the priest, he dies. The boy goes to the wake. You'd think he'd be sad, but instead he's noticing, like, the oddest details. Eliza's worn boots, Nanny almost falling asleep, that awkward sherry and crackers spread.
It's like he's observing from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how kids can feel out of place at those adult events, like they don't really belong.
Yeah, I get that. And then Eliza, the priest's sister, she starts talking.
And she hints at something, doesn't she? Something that happened to Father Flynn that really troubled him. She uses that word crossed.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a loaded word.
Yeah, crossed by what? Or by whom?
Like it suggests something, went wrong. That some burden was placed on him.
It really makes you wonder, what exactly is Eliza getting at?
It's like we're trying to, put together this puzzle, but we're missing pieces. We get these fragments, these hints, but we got to fill in the blanks ourselves.
Okay, so let's go back to that scene at the wake. We're there with the boy, this dimly lit room, smell of flowers everywhere, and Father Flynn, well, he's in his coffin.
And Joyce uses that word truculent to describe his face. It's not how you normally picture someone who's died.
Truculent.
Yeah, suggest, defiance, like he's still struggling, even in death.
Almost like he died with this unsettled feeling.
Maybe. And of course, there's the chalice in his hands.
Oh, right.
Such a powerful image, right? Especially with, everything we've talked about, the broken chalice.
Yeah.
It's like he's holding on to whatever secret or guilt he carried.
A visual reminder of that turning point, right? Where it all started to unravel. And then we get that oddly domestic scene. Eliza and Nanny offering the boy sherry and cream crackers.
It feels, I don't know, out of place. This ordinary thing in the middle of Death and mourning.
And the boy, he doesn't want the crackers, says he doesn't want to make noise.
He's uncomfortable, isn't he? With the whole thing.
Totally. Like a kid stuck in this adult world of grief, he just doesn't know what to do.
And that's when Eliza, she drops that bombshell.
Yeah.
About Father Flynn's last days, how he was too scrupulous, how the priesthood, it was just too much for him. And again, she uses that word crossed.
So we're back to square one. What does crossed even mean? What event, what, I don't know, transgression, what crisis was weighing on him so much?
Perhaps it was, something to do with his faith. Maybe he was struggling with doubt and just couldn't reconcile it.
Like those questions he used to ask the boy.
Maybe.
And maybe that's what led to the chalice incident.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe it wasn't an accident, but some kind of outward sign of his inner turmoil.
It's a thought. And then there's Eliza's story about how Father Flynn acted after the chalice.
Oh, right. He became withdrawn, started talking to himself.
And then one night, he disappears.
And they find him.
In the confessional, alone, in the dark, laughing softly to himself.
Whoa. Okay, that's chilling. What was he laughing about? Was he, I don't know, had he lost it?
We never get a clear answer. But that setting, the confessional box, it's so important. It's a place for secrets, right? For confession, for seeking forgiveness.
So what? It's like he finally broke.
It's possible. Like whatever he was carrying, whatever secret, it was just too much. And all that was left was that laughter.
It's like all this pressure just exploded, and the laughter, it was the steam escaping.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And it's such a powerful way to end a story, one that's already full of these unsettling currents. It leaves us with this lingering mystery, this unease.
It makes you think about, well, the things we hide, the secrets we all carry, and how they can affect everyone around us.
And the nature of truth, What really happened? What was the truth about Father Flynn's cross life? We get these glimpses, but in the end, it's up to us to interpret it.
We've talked a lot about Father Flynn, but the story's called The Sisters. I can't help but think they're more than just background characters.
You're right. They're central, even though Father Flynn's the focus.
It's like they're these silent guardians. Always there, but we never really know what they know. Like when they're preparing Father Flynn's body, it's almost like some kind of ritual.
It's like they're, carrying out this sacred duty, but there's this sense of something else.
Like maybe fear?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or resignation, maybe.
And the way Eliza keeps saying how peaceful he looks in death, it's like she's trying to convince herself.
Right, like she's trying to bury her own unease about what happened.
Especially when she compares it to, him alive, all troubled, his life crossed.
Exactly. She's admitting there was darkness there, but she's choosing to focus on the peace of death, I guess.
But then she lets those little hints slip about the chalice, about his struggles. It's like she's torn between protecting his memory and telling the truth.
It's fascinating. Like she holds the key to understanding Father Flynn, but she only turns it a little, gives us these glimpses, but never the whole picture.
So why all the secrecy? Was she afraid of what people would think? Remember, this is turn of the century Dublin. The church was everything.
A scandal involving a priest would have been huge, not just for Father Flynn, but for the whole community.
And the sisters, they would have been right in the middle of it.
Exactly. They must have felt so much pressure to protect him even after he was gone.
And it's interesting how Joyce shows the two sisters so different. Eliza, she's more outspoken, dropping those hints. And then Nanny, she's quiet, almost withdrawn.
It's like she's carrying the weight of it all even more.
And maybe that reflects their different relationships with him. Like one was closer, knew more about what was going on, while the other kept her distance.
It adds another layer to the mystery, doesn't it? Trying to figure out what each sister knew, how they felt.
And it's the boy, with his, kid's curiosity, who notices those little things. Eliza's boots, her tired eyes, Nanny almost falling asleep.
He sees the strain, the exhaustion that comes with keeping secrets.
He's watching this world of unspoken things, this tension, and he doesn't get it, but he feels it.
And it's through him, through his limited understanding, that we're invited to figure things out.
So the story, it's called The Sisters, but it's really about how their silence, their secrets, create this whole atmosphere of mystery and unease.
They're like ghosts, haunting the edges of the story. Comforting, but also unsettling.
Their silence says so much.
It does. And we're left with that question. What are they not saying? What are they protecting? And what's the cost?
The Sisters. It's not just a spooky priest story. It's about family secrets, burdens, and the ripples they create.
It reminds us that sometimes what's not said is just as powerful as what is.
It makes you want to reread it, pay attention to every little thing, every glance, every word left unsaid.
I encourage you to do that. And as you go back into Joyce's world, think about this. What secrets do you carry? And how do those secrets shape how you interact with the world?
That's a great thought to end on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. And to everyone listening, we'll see you next time for another deep dive into, well, whatever fascinating thing we uncover next.